He was remarkably strong and resilient. I, frankly, was in awe of his courage. Wei was very blunt about the impact our voice had during his imprisonment. He said that when the United States agreed to Chinese government demands, when we were weak, when we were timid, indifferent, and kowtowing to the dictatorship, his jailers beat him and the other dissidents more. But when the U.S. took a firm stance, making human rights a priority, his jailers beat him and the others less. And he made it clear that human rights need to be linked to trade, and there needs to be a penalty when Beijing abuses its own people with such impunity. The ordeal of Wei, of course, began in 1979 when the communist government, when he took the communist government at its word, and he wrote articles suggesting political reform. Wei, with his act calling for freedom and for calling for democracy, earned a 15-year prison sentence. In late 1993, he was unexpectedly released, as you know, on parole, a few months prior to his sentence ending. This gesture was to try to induce the Olympic Committee to award Beijing as host of the 2000 Olympics. They didn't get it, and then Wei was rearrested. And for 19 months, the Beijing government would not even admit that they had him in custody. Then he was sentenced after that to 14 more years in jail. I chaired a hearing in December of 1995 on Wei Jianshang's imprisonment. Wei's sister, Wei Jianshang, spoke eloquently about her brother. She said, when I went to visit him, I would be trembling inside. But in those unimaginably terrible living conditions, he, Wei, was cheerful, even when he was emaciated, all skin and bones. Even when he had only a few teeth left, he was still smiling. She continued that when he spoke about hope for the people of China, that someday human rights and freedom and democracy would prevail. She said, my brother was always opposed to violence. He believes that if China is to achieve democratic civilization of a modern society, this is her quote, it must leave behind the old way of replacing one tyrant with another. Today, my friends, it is disappointing to hear so many so-called Chinese experts, particularly in Europe and in the United States, who say that an aggressive human rights agenda will somehow infuriate Beijing and impede progress on a wide range of strategic issues, including North Korea. I don't buy that argument for a moment. Chinese leaders will not disengage because of public criticism over human rights. Yes, they'll fume, they'll be upset, but they'll know that if we mean business, just like Wei told me in that Beijing restaurant in 1994, and so many others have said the same thing since, we've got to be tough, predictable, honest, and hold them to account. And when we do that, that's when real progress will be made. Democratic countries should not be kowtowing to China's Communist Party. The silence of Norway on their Shabbat or Greece's efforts to block EU human rights resolution is shameful, and I would suggest counterproductive. We all understand China's growing economic influence, but failure to defend universal values, to stand up for rights and the rule of law, is short-sighted in the extreme, and will eventually hurt those economic gains. The need for principle and a consistent American leadership, I would respectfully submit, is more needed now than ever. We must use congressionally authorized sanctions to hold Chinese officials accountable for torture and gross abuses, including the Global Magnitsky Law and the Frank Wolf International Religious Freedom Act, and also a bill, law that I wrote back in 2000, that holds people who oppress women through the one-child per couple policy, that they too are held accountable for those egregious abuses. It is our duty to stand with the human rights advocates in China, as Wei Jingsheng did when he was there, including from his prison cell, and as he does so eloquently now that he lives in the freedom of the West. I believe that someday China will be free. Someday the people of China will be able to enjoy all of their God-given rights. And as a nation of free Chinese men and women, they will honor and celebrate brave men and brave women, including Wei Jingsheng, as the heroes who made that freedom possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Smith. And we have a little plaque to show you, which has a human rights, democracy, words, legal freedom by our board member, Jonathan Chan. Dr. James Chan, we come to reverse award ceremony order a little bit. Dr. James Chan will have an introduction. Chris Smith, thank you.
Thank you.
It's my honor and pleasure to introduce the distinguished Congressman, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is a veteran Republican congressman of his current place in his 19th two-year term in the U.S. House of Representatives. As the chairman of Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Human Rights and International Operations and the Subcommittee on Ethics, he vigorously and constantly advocates human rights. We all remember decades ago, Mr. Smith actively involved in efforts of urging Chinese government immediate and unconditional release of Wei Jingsheng, internationally known for his leading role in Chinese democratic movement. We, Chinese citizens and human rights advocates, are facing an uphill challenge against Chinese Communist regime. However, whenever help is needed, Mr. Smith is always available for us. For his great contribution to our fighting for freedom in China, Wei Jingsheng Foundation proudly announces 2017 Third Human Rights and Freedom Defender to be awarded Congressman Mr. Smith. Mr. Christopher Smith, thank you again for your relentless support to the cause of freedom of China. Thank you.
So anyway, we are started with the opening remarks with Mr. Wei Jingsheng and for our president, and followed by Miss Maria Piano, who is the Minister Counselor from the European Parliament Liaison Office with the U.S. Congress. But I understand House Democrat leader Nancy Pelosi is on her way to congratulate Representative Smith for this award. Leader Pelosi is the this recipient is received this prize last year, and so she really want to congratulate Mr. Smith, Representative Smith for this. And so if she comes, she would speak too. So anyway, we'll let Mr. Wei Jinsen talk a few words for this occasion.
Probably longer than I got know many of the pro-democracy activists of China.
94年呢，我们在北京的一个小饭馆里头碰到一起了。
1994, at a small restaurant in Beijing, we met.
在那之前呢，因为我在监狱里受到共产党的封锁，对外界信息知道的很少，所以在我的印象里呢，美国的政客好像都是像基辛格那个样子。
Before that, because I was locked up in a prison cell in China, and I had very little information from the outside world, so for me, my impression was that all politicians of the United States are like Dr. Kissinger.
结果我发现了一个非常强硬的、非常直截了当的、非常有激情的政治家，这是我所希望有的。
But with Mr. Smith, I found a very tough, very honest, and very passionate politician. That's someone I really like.
我们两个人说话都很直截了当，我很快就发现他是一个真正的坚决支持中国人民争取自由和民主的这样一个人。
We talk openly and honestly, and very soon I realized that he is a person who really supported democracy and human rights in China.
我也非常直截了当地提出来，我们中国人希望你们怎么样做，怎么帮助我们，等等等等。他说的非常痛快。
And I was very honest with him too. I told him what we Chinese were hoping and would like to see that you are doing, and he agreed readily.
他说，争取民主自由，那么得进行战斗。我们呢，对付我们的敌人呢，得有大炮。他说，我就是大炮，你们给我们提供炮弹。
For democracy and freedom in China, to achieve that would be a big fight. To have this big fight, we need cannons and we need weapons, heavy weapons. And I'm one of the cannons, and you supplied the cannonballs to me.
结果我们那天吃什么都有的忘了。
I forgot what we ate that day.
我只记住他是大炮，我们要当炮弹。
But I only remember that he would be a cannon and will provide the cannonballs to him.
然后给中国人民打出一片民主自由的天地。
To fight for a free and democratic China.
现在南希·波罗西女士来了，因为他们很忙，要经常投票，我让她谢谢。
Now since Nancy Pelosi is here, and because they are very busy, they have busy affairs at the Congress, so I'd like to invite her to say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. What an honor it is for each and every one of us to be in the presence of Wei Jinping, isn't it so? A hero to the world, a person with courage, intellect, and the imagination to appeal to the greater good for the people of China. The fact that an award named for him is being bestowed on my colleague Chris Smith is really a double cause for celebration. As Wei was saying, as Wei Jinping was saying, they go back a long time. We all do. Chris Smith has for a long time persisted in his call for freedom and respect for human human rights in China. His most recent courage was demonstrated in the fight to free Liu Xiaobo, and also to lead the way for us to call for Liu Xiaobo to be able to come to another country to receive care. That was not granted by the Chinese government, and that disgraceful behavior was pointed out by Chris Smith very clearly. I had the privilege of being with him in Norway when Liu Xiaobo in absentia received the Nobel Prize. I think both of us considered it a great honor to be invited to that. But I can tell you that the two of us, and Frank Smith, Frank Wolf, and others, were fighting for freedom for Wei Chen, admired his work, hope and pray for freedom, more freedom in China, and follow his lead in doing so. But I want to say the privilege it has been to work with him, but also with my colleagues across the aisle with Chris Smith. He is relentless, he is creative, he is well positioned on the Foreign Affairs Committee, as well as the co-chair of the China Commission. So he uses every avenue at his disposal to demonstrate that he respects the dignity and worth of every person. I feel very honored to be able to sing his praises with all of you in the presence of Wei as he receives that very important award that he is receiving today. Thank you, Chris, for your courage and I received this award, but for Chris Smith, we're in a much bigger room.
往前靠近点，再靠近点。老魏这边，老魏这里 ，Chris over here. Good. Nice.
And as mentioned before, 3 years ago, Mr. Wei was awarded by the British Parliament the Sakharov Prize. While he was in Lille, it was a challenge to award the prize for someone as human rights defender who was not listened. Today, his determination, endurance, and courage to stand alone are a reminder to all of us. We pray and also of those who are human rights defenders. The new Parliament Sakharov Prize was created in 1988. It is also awarded as a winner to individuals or organizations who have made exceptional contributions to respect of human rights. Last year, we honored ladies who survived sexual slavery by ISIS. They became a spokesperson for women accused by ISIS sexual violence, and today they are public advocates for the ISIS community in Iraq. The process for 2017 has started, and we expect to have our award ceremony in December. Today, the new Parliament is sponsoring again is the Way to Change Foundation Award ceremony. We did it last year for Mrs. Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader, and we do it again this year for Mr. Chris Smith, Congressman, Republican from New Jersey. Congressman Chris Smith, as the chairman of the Subcommittee on Human Rights, has a central role in setting the U.S. Congress policy in promotion of the respect of human rights. This morning, the Subcommittee on Foreign Affairs adopted a draft resolution on human rights in New York. These draft resolutions requesting, among others, an independent examination by the United Nations of the state of human rights in the country. This year, Congressman Chris Smith was the key for the adoption in the House of the Iraq and Syrian genocide and the Kham Act, which is waiting for final adoption in the Senate. He has also been behind crucial legislation on child abduction and his action in the fight against human trafficking made terrorists that representative of OS Parliamentary Assembly for human trafficking. As the chairman of the Auxiliary Commission, Chairman Smith also contributes to bring together national efforts to combat human trafficking, to respond to anti-Semitism, racism, and anti-war control. For all these, I ask those who are here before me, Congressman, please let me know that, as we say, we say in the European Parliament, thank you, Chairman. And all I count on you to let me know. Before finishing, I would like just to share with you one thought about my action as having committed in human rights unity in the European Parliament in Brussels, where I was for 10 years. When Andy Gloria was receiving our Sakharov Prize award, we were telling him or her that as part of the Sakharov Prize award, they would come from 3 principles. They were then connected with the Sakharov Prize rule. They would count themselves and their families on the European Parliament. And that we would stay behind us and ready to step in if necessary whenever they ask us for. Today, the sponsorship by the European Parliament Washington office of the 2017 Way to Change Award ceremony is an example of our commitment to the Sakharov Prize and to those who work for the same cause. Please all give my congratulations to Chairman Smith and Mr. Wade. Thank you for never giving up. Thank you for all of your support.
I want to congratulate Congressman Chris Smith for receiving the Human Rights and Freedom Defender Award. It is a very well-deserved recognition for his leadership in defending human rights in China. Congressman Smith has championed the full range of human rights causes in China. The rights of political prisoners, human rights lawyers, labor activists, religious and ethnic minorities, including Christians, Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, and Tibetans. He does so with remarkable passion and tenacity. When abuses occur, we can count on Congressman Smith to speak out. In Freedom House's annual reports, in our China Media Bulletin, and our special reports, such as the recent analysis of restrictions on religion in China, we've documented growing repression since Xi came into power. We've also seen the resilience of those seeking their basic rights and justice. Their efforts merit our support. Congressman Smith's long track record and legislative accomplishments deserve particular recognition because time and again he's crafted effective policy tools that make a real difference. One such tool is the Global Magnitsky Act. It authorizes the U.S. President to deny visas and freeze U.S.-based assets of foreign officials responsible for gross human rights violations. The administration currently is putting together its first list of foreign officials to sanction under this law. For the list to be credible, it has to include Chinese officials. The administration will start with officials who deny medical treatment in Xiaobao. I applaud the Wei Cheng Foundation for today's exhibition. We need to remember the widespread abuses committed in the Cultural Revolution so that past tragedies won't be repeated. And we need to address ongoing abuses and recommit to our struggle for justice. Thank you very much.
It's an honor to be here with you
and especially Reporters Without Borders. We were in Europe a couple of times this year, and in France, in Germany, and especially the time in France, we always say, let's visit Reporters Without Borders. So anyway, and it's very nice. Like this year, we were having fight or try to seek justice with the Interpol, which headquartered in India, France, and we were glad that we were worried that it's a French association, but the Reporters Without Borders say very clear to us, you support human rights. So thank you. And our next speaker will be Mr. T. Kham. He's the advocacy director for Asia and Europe. He himself was a political prisoner and turned a political activist, political leader in human rights leader. And he's from Amnesty International and always a familiar face for many of us in Washington, D.C. for human rights. Thank you, Mr. Kham.
Extremely pleased to be here to speak at this very important and I will say more emotional event. Why it's important? It's important because one of the leading human rights champions, not only in the US Congress, but also, I can easily say, one of the few true leaders around the world who never cares about politics, who never cares about Republican democracy, he only cares about human rights, and stand and give voice to the extremely abused and suffering people around the world. That's Congressman, Chairman, President. We also want to thank the Foundation who have selected Chairman Smith for this award. I was wondering whether this is an honor to Chairman Smith or is an honor to the award that you are giving me, Chairman Smith. By giving this award to Chairman Smith, the award itself is honor, and you are giving it to a very important person. When we think of human rights in Washington, the first name comes to our mind. I'm not saying because it's an event for Congressman Smith. I truly say the first thing comes to our mind is Congressman Smith. Because we know he will only care about human rights and nothing else. So we are extremely honored to be here to speak at an event that honors Congressman Smith. And we are extremely happy that he is leading the fight. Even now he is not here because he is leading the fight in the markup that's happening here. Thank you again to Amnesty International for inviting us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kham. And the last speaker is Mr. Carl Gershman. He's the president of NED, which is the National Endowment for Democracy, and which is always supporting democracy to the people all over the world, including the Wilkinson Foundation. So we are very honored to have him to speak again to us.
So much. It's a great pleasure to be here. It's a great pleasure to be here with Wei, who, was an icon and a hero of the moment. He posted that famous essay, The Fifth Modernization, which is democracy, on Democracy War on December 5th, 1978. And what is important about Wei is that he continues to speak out, continues to be an icon. And a lot of people are afraid to speak out because of their fearful of Chinese retaliation, so they censor themselves.
So it's great to be here with him. And I want to note that after he was in prison for 18 years and then came to the United States, the Ned presented him with its Democracy Award, a big event in the Congress. It was presented by Nancy Pelosi, a great event in 1998. And it's also a great point to be here with, for Congressman Smith, who I consider to be not only a great defender of human rights, but a true man of justice. He has a passion for justice, and he's really an important leader in the cause of human freedom. One thing he did, today is 2 weeks, since Liu Xiaobo died, and Congressman Smith said to me, as we were talking before this event, he said he was killed. He didn't just die, he was killed. And I think that's true, he was killed. And immediately, it was Thursday, July 13th, the very next day, Congressman Smith held a hearing on Liu Xiaobo. Had Perry Link and others to speak there. And I think that would just show the special commitment that Congressman Smith has. And I want to just use this occasion to say a couple of words about what Liu Xiaobo's message was, not only to the Chinese community, but to the United States and really to the whole world. He had a hopeful vision about the future of China. He said he famously said in the closing statement of his trial that China will, in the end, become a nation ruled by all where human rights reign supreme. He said that in the closing statement. I have no enemy. But that statement is based upon rigorous analysis. And in the essay he wrote some years before that, called Changing the Regime by Changing Society, he talked about the 4 pillars of Chinese totalitarianism. The economic pillar, the organizational or institutional pillar, which enabled them to control every aspect of a person's life. The mental pillar, the ideological pillar, but also the political pillar. And he said in this essay, which was a very important essay, that 3 of those pillars, the first 3, the economic, organizational, and the ideological, were eroding or had already collapsed. And all that was left was political control, political centralization. And not only that, but he said that even there, when they try to repress people, it no longer is the way it used to be, where they could destroy a person's dignity. When they repress people, they actually enable that person to achieve a kind of wholeness, and to become what he said, instead of destroying the person becomes conscious of the people, the hero of truth. And he was a hero of truth, and Wei was a hero of truth, and all those who are standing up for freedom are that, and they have not been destroyed. I think it's very important to remember, this is what he was saying, they have not been destroyed by the regime. The regime, and he said also that if the regime prevents change, China will become a danger to the world. The way previous countries that rose economically, like Hitler's Germany, Stalin's Russia, the Meiji Emperor's Japan, he said, those countries that rose economically in their power without democratizing became a disaster for not just for their own country, but for the whole world. And it's great to be here is that would happen to with China in the absence of that. And what he called for was solidarity. People like Chris Smith, who can stand in solidarity with the people, and he said we have not only gratitude, but we hold such people in awe because of what they do. And what they're doing is also important for the future of the world. I want to close just by reading one passage from this essay that he wrote about the great powers. Because Liu Xiaobo was able to think geopolitically and strategically in addition to being a voice for freedom. And he said that when the rise of a large dictatorial state, and that is China, that commands rapidly increasing economic strength, meets with no effective deterrence from the outside, but only an attitude of appeasement from the international mainstream. And if the communists succeed in once again leading China down a disastrously mistaken historical road. The results will not only be another catastrophe for the Chinese people, but likely also a disaster for the spread of liberal democracy in the world. And he called for free countries to do what they can to help the world's largest dictatorship transform itself as quickly as possible. Now that's not happening. That has not happened. And we face an extremely dangerous situation today. We're seeing it as we speak, not just in the South China Sea or the East China Sea, where China has behaved aggressively in recent years, but even on the border with India, in Sikkim, where there could be violent conflict. And China is pushing and pushing and pushing because it feels arrogant today. And what we need is to do exactly what Chris Smith has been doing. And what he has said and what he has done needs to be done by our government and by European governments and by governments around the world. Instead of appeasing China to stand up and say, no, we do not accept this, and we feel that it is not only your interest, but in our interest to see the Chinese people achieve freedom and democracy. Thank you.
Cultural Revolution. So you're welcome to look at this, and it is really been going on for more than 1 year, and it is basically supported by both, co-sponsored by both Tianwen United Institute as well as the Wei Jingzhen Foundation. And this Cultural Revolution issue in some ways coming back to China now. So we feel not only because the 50th anniversary is important, but also because we do not want to see this happen in China again, and which is also going to be affect the whole world. So anyway, I think otherwise we opening this exhibition now, and we also concluded today's ceremony of the Human Rights Award. And I do want to mention, we made some special cuts this year in the background that each of you may feel welcome to take one. And we also have a very nice pin with the European Parliament logo on it. And each of you are also welcome to one. And so also the Wei Jingzhen Foundation today was very pleased that the European Parliament offering a reception, and there was a soda and alcohol associated, officially started by Sony, but anyway, they are coming up. You are welcome to hang around and talk to each other and have more human rights engagement. And finally, I want to say after reception, somewhere between 7 to 7:30, all of you are welcome to go to a Chinese restaurant, which I have to address. And they're offering authentic Northwestern Chinese food, which is very unique. We don't see a second one. If any of you are interested, you're welcome, and I'll give you the address. Thank you. So anyway,
老毕还讲一半不上，老毕刚才讲了一半不上。
大合照照了吗？大合照照了吗？大合照照了没？大合照，你那个大合照照了吗？
第三届人权无国界展暨第三届人权自由卫士奖颁奖典礼的直播就到此结束，谢谢大家的收看。
黄志明。